Welcome back to Telecom Record Entertainment Immigration Updates, in this US Immigration Forum. I will answer and discuss some of the questions frequently asked by visa applicants all around the world. Here is the first question from Devon Oliveira in Brazil. How is it possible that I receive an email from the US consulate, saying that my visa is approved and asking me to send my passport for visa processing, but when I sent my passport, I received it back with a refusal letter? Devon, I'm sorry to hear that you received a refusal letter after your visa was approved. It's possible that there was a mistake made in the initial approval process, or that new information came to light that led to the decision being overturned. Additionally, it's also possible that the email you received was not legitimate, and was a scam. I would recommend contacting the US consulate directly to inquire about the status of your visa application and to verify the authenticity of any communications you have received. They will be able to provide you with more information about the reasons for the refusal and the next steps you can take. Question from Jim Gilbert, a former technical consultant and strategic planner at Federal Government of the United States. I have also read the other answers and your reply. The good news is that ustraveldocs.com is a legitimate site. I would normally advise people to never rely on anything that is not in .gov domain. So here's what USCIS says about your letter. Application pending further action 221G, overview. Refusal under Section 221G means that essential information is missing from an application or that an application has been placed on administrative hold. The consular officer who interviews you will tell you at the end of your interview if action on your case is being refused under 221G pending further information. The officer will either tell you that the case has to undergo administrative processing, or will ask you to submit additional information. If further information is required, the officer will tell you how to submit that information. As part of this process, you will be given a written letter and will have 12 months from the date of your application to submit the requested documents without having to pay a new visa application fee. After 1 year, an application refused under Section 221G is terminated per Section 203E. If the embassy or consulate requested additional information or documentation from you, you must submit those documents at a CGI document collection office. This web page explains how to submit your documents for delivery to the embassy or consulate. Other information. Some visa applications require further administrative processing, which takes additional time after your interview with a consular officer. You will be advised of this possibility during your interview. Most administrative processing is resolved within 60 days of your visa interview. When additional administrative processing is required, the length of processing time will vary based on the circumstances of each case. You are reminded to apply early for your visa, well in advance of your anticipated date of travel. Applicants whose cases are pending administrative processing may check the status of their cases by clicking the link below corresponding to the embassy/consulate where they were interviewed. Note: before inquiring about your visa status, you or your representative must wait at least 60 days from the date of your interview or the submission of supplemental documents, whichever is later. Please be patient. You may check your immigration visa application status online here by entering your interview location and your case number. It would appear that they did not get whatever additional information was requested, or that the information you put on the DS 5535 questionnaire caused them to deny your visa. Or they made a mistake. When I was acting as a consultant to the US Department of Justice, a USCIS office in California mistakenly sent me a crate containing all their court records and case files for the past 6 months. They were supposed to send a modem to the warehouse in a prepaid pre-addressed envelope. I was the point of contact in case they had questions. If they can make a blunder that big, they can do almost anything. I suggest you contact the embassy/consulate where you were interviews. US Travel Docs is just a paid agent handling paperwork, and they can make mistakes, too. Just be careful when speaking with any of them, they have thin skins and are never at fault. Catherine Burke in Australia. Question: can an applicant's passport get missing at the US Embassy? In my case, the embassy told me they couldn't find my passport and would return it through courier once they found it. It's been over 5 months now. Catherine: it is extremely rare, but it does happen that a visa applicant's passport can indeed go missing. The single one that I remember from my entire career had apparently slipped off a cart transporting stacks of passports to have their visas printed and inserted. The passport finally turned up, months later, when the tiny old elevator was repaired. The repair guy found the passport half buried among the grease and junk at the bottom of the shaft. It had apparently slid off the cart and between the car's floor and wall. I was elected to have to call the passport's owner, and was scolded non-stop for several minutes. The family's long-anticipated vacation trip had been thrown into a panic with a last-minute scramble for a place to leave the unlucky owner of that passport, since there was no time to get a new one. We finally wrote a formal letter of dignified but abject apology, printed on the ambassador's fanciest, most formal letterhead and signed by him. Last I heard, the teenager who had missed that US trip was now a parent himself, and that framed letter held pride of place on his apartment wall. Melissa Brown in New Jersey. I am a H-1B holder, green card holder and now a US citizen. Melissa, what you said doesn't make sense. If you applied for a US visa, and went through the interview, if you are approved or a high chance of approval after administrative processing, US consulate would have held your passport instead of giving it back to you. Having your passport in your hand means your visa application was rejected for some reason. And probably someone who knew you applied for this visa, want to play a cruel joke on you and imitated a US consulate letter saying your visa was approved. Nicholas Butcher, a follower in Switzerland. Question: why is the embassy taking so long to return my passport? My US visa was approved 2 months ago after my interview and my passport was kept. Now it is on administrative processing. Can they deny it after being approved? I'm so worried. Why is the embassy taking so long to return my passport? My US visa was approved 2 months ago after my interview and my passport was kept. Now it is on administrative processing. Can they deny it after being approved? I'm so worried. Nicholas, it was not approved. The consular officer accepted your information as a reasonable request for a visa. Now, your statements on the forms are being verified, and your background is being investigated to confirm that you did not falsify any information, or omit anything that is significant. That can take a while if they need to get answers from a foreign organization that is not very responsive. It can take a very long time if they find things that you left out, and now have to research more carefully to find out why. I notice that your Quora profile is blank, for example. That makes me suspicious that you are hiding something. Imagine that you are a security officer and an application comes to you that is mostly blank. Those are the ones they dig through thoroughly. Jonette James, a follower in Jamaica. I got my US visiting visa, for 10 years, in the first attempt. Question: what does it mean when it says, your passport has been picked up in the US tracking visa? Your passport has been picked up means the courier service, Blue Dart, has picked up your passport from the US Embassy, where you had attended the interview. Once it reaches the VFS Global Services near you or the location you had selected for pickup, you will receive an email from us Travels Docs as following. Your documents have been collected from the US Embassy/Consulate. The passport number being returned is AB1245678. You have chosen to have your documents delivered to the following location. Once you receive this email, you can collect your passport from there. Please do not forget to carry your ID card/Ds 160 form for verification. I hope this helps you. Andrew Williams, follower in Barbados. Question: can a U.S. consular officer reject visas if the passport cover page is detached while the other information is intact? Yes. U.S. consular officers will only place visas in passports that are in usable condition. Normal wear is okay, but any defacement or detachment makes the passport unusable, so the visa applicant must obtain and present a new one. Manny Karthik, follower, lived in San Francisco Bay Area. If a U.S. visa is rejected, will they give the passport immediately back across the counter? Yes. Usually they return your passport immediately, stating that you were not granted a visa, work or tourist, whichever the case. The reason will not be disclosed, however. Dave Sood, self-employed MD at buying office. Question: if the U.S. Embassy asks for my passport, does it mean that my visa was approved? Yes. The passport is only requested when the application is approved. So send it as soon as possible. Albert Godfriend, a frequent international traveler. Question: my passport was withdrawn during the administrative processing of the U.S. visa. My application status changed to refused. What is next? Shall I reapply or wait for a final decision from the visa officer? Albert: you should wait for your passport to be returned with the reason for the refusal. Then correct whatever caused the refusal. And if you can correct that reason, then you can reapply. If you cannot correct, like you got caught lying or providing fake documents, then reapplying is pointless. You did not say what sort of visa or your nationality. Anthony Brown, follower from Trinidad. Question: my visa was approved, but 2 days later I received an email from the consulate office requesting that I scan a copy of my proof of funds, so that they could continue the process. What does this imply? My visa was approved, but 2 days later I received an email from the consulate requesting that I scan a copy of my proof of funds, so that they could continue the process. What does this imply? Anthony Brown: your visa was not approved. Your interviewer found no reason to deny your visa and passed it on for the next step, verification. It is now in administrative processing where they will confirm your answers and look for things you may have tried to hide. It's standard procedure. If you told the truth and aren't hiding any security issues, you'll get your visa in a couple of weeks. Girish Mudgal, works at Time Tooth Technologies, Indian company. Question: what could I do if U.S. Embassy is taking too long to return my passport stamped with visa? Girish: unfortunately, nothing. This is not even debatable, in my honest opinion. To get clarity on my passport status or even a reasonable prediction of time of when to expect my passport, I have tried the following communication channels: online chat support, email support, website status tracking, SMS and phone support. All these channels, and call center team members, are designed and trained to give out exact same canned information which is posted on the US Travel Docs website. So, other than waiting in suspense, there is actually nothing you can do to get higher fidelity information, or any logical reasoning for delay other than the status message displayed in the passport tracking page. If anyone has found a way to actually escalate the request, or even extract any time prediction, please reply to this post. Ross McKim, a former Foreign Service officer at U.S. Department of State's. Question: what does it mean if your status says, your passport is still with the U.S. Embassy/consulate after AB2 visa interview? Answer: the policy at U.S. Embassy is to keep your passport for as little time as possible. It has the potential of being lost, which looks terrible and is a pain for all involved. If we simply kept the passport, it was because we needed to print the visa and put it in. No simple stamps anymore. Most places it takes 2 to 3 days, though for certain people, mainly agricultural workers, we could hand it back later that day. Sometimes further processing was needed, and we usually gave the option of leaving the passport with us for what was usually 2 to 3 weeks, or giving it back and asking for it when we are ready to print. If there was a refusal, no reason to keep the passport. Markland Montague, a telephone technician, following from Jamaica. Question. My B2 visa passport tracking says passport has been received from the consular section, and is currently being processed for delivery, but the status in the Consular Electronic Application Center, CAC, is still refused. Does it mean they will return it without the stamp? My B2 visa passport tracking says passport has been received from the consular section, and is currently being processed for delivery, but the status in CAC is still refused. Does it mean they will return it without the stamp? Markland. Your status is always refused until the embassy issues the visa. I think it is a foolish thing to do because it worries so many people, but they do it to make it clear that you have to complete all processes before it gets approved. I think it would be better to show the status as in process, but there is no such status. Anu Kodom. Software engineer in the USA. Question. Has the US Embassy sent a passport request letter? Does this mean that my visa is approved? No. The US Embassy sending a passport request letter does not mean that your visa is approved. This letter is sent to inform you that the US Embassy is ready to process your visa application and they need your passport to do so. It is not a guarantee of approval. It simply means that your application has been reviewed and they are ready to take the next step in the visa process, which is to collect your passport. In order to know whether or not your visa is approved, you will have to wait for the US Embassy to contact you with a decision about your visa application. Sama Sandhu. Follower in California Western School of Law. Question. If my passport is valid for less than 6 months, will I be denied entry into the US on a B1/B2 visa that is valid till September 2023? If so, can I stay in the US beyond the expiry date in my passport? When traveling to the USA, the general rule is to have a valid 6-month passport. If your visa is valid for another few years, then you must renew your passport. Overstay is inadmissible in the United States and passport reissue or renewal services are not available for visitor visa holders in the US. Franklin Beecher. Following from Columbus School of Nursing. Middle dot. Question. Can I get a new 10-year multiple entry USA B1/B2 visa when I change my passport, when my passport expires? The US visa expires 5 years later than my current passport. No, carry your old passport when traveling along with the new renewed one. The visa on the older one will still be valid even if the passport has expired. Caitlin Burke. Follower in Spain. Question. My international passport expires in 10 months. Can I apply for a 2-year B1/B2 US visa now? Yes. You can apply for a US B1/B2 visa whenever you want to, and are able to do so. Even if the passport that holds the visa expires, the visa will still be valid as long as your local passport authority hasn't stamped all the old passport's pages, including the visa, cancelled before returning it to you. Then you can travel while carrying both passports, the new one and the one holding the visa, as long as they are both the same type. Melanie Bernard, a loyal follower. Question. I was issued a B1/B2 in my diplomatic passport which expired. Will I be able to enter US using a regular passport? Melanie. If the B1/B2 visa on your expired passport is still valid and you have the passport in your hands, with the personal identification information pages intact, except maybe a cancelled stamp, and you have your new and valid passport with you, there should not be any problems. Rana Bhupinder Singh Sahal, follower in India. Question. Can I visit Canada while I'm in the US on a B1, B2 visa? I read everyone answers and it's shocking that everyone gave wrong answers, and without knowing any authenticity of information, people simply write whatever they assume. False knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge. Buddy, if you hold Indian passport, with valid US visa, and you want to cross the US-Canada border, you can't enter Canada. Period. There is no facility of visa on border for Indian passport holders. You need a valid Canadian visa. There is no facility of any special permission just because you have US visa. This information is 1000% bang on correct. Well, you can apply for Canadian visa in USA, but 99% it will rejected, as you are on a US tourist visa, and they encourage you to apply only from your home country. This rule goes for every country. Thanks once again for checking out my video. If you appreciate video like this, please to show your appreciation by liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing and donating to my YouTube channel. See contribution link in description below.